number on here too. So welcome everybody, and thank you for coming to our weekly variety class here. So I was going to start off just playing a song that I was saying, back in the days when gigs were still a regular thing. This is one of the ones that I used to play all the time, and I hadn't played it for a long time. And this is Georgia on My Mind. Of course, written by Hoagie Carmichael, but made famous by Ray Charles probably about 30 years later. And I'm going to use a different style. Some of the things that I like to play, I like to use maybe a little bit of a different style than it came out with. So if you're looking for a more traditional Ray Charles version of the song, stuff like Strings 101 and some of the slower stuff works pretty well. The style I'm going to use to open up today is called Soul Ballad, and this is a really nice setup, I think, for Georgia on My Mind. So here we go.
Hi, Dorothy. Hold on, please.
Oh, that was fun. I'm glad we did record that, Sean.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Perfect.
Let's say Michael said that was very nice. Thank you, Brian. Think you might have just listened to a few turns by Booker T. Yeah.
Booker T. Yeah.
Good thought there. So one of the things that so this is a really common strategy, if you want to call it that, for arranging that a lot of professional musicians do, and it's something that I kind of did there that I'll elaborate on as we go into the class today. But I used to do a workshop on this, and Sean will have the sheet, and of course you'll get emailed the full version here that these are all my notes I'll talk about today that you'll get probably this weekend from Robert. But it's a really, fundamentally, it's a really simple trick that anybody can do on any instrument to kind of arrange on the fly. And what I mean by that is, when I sit down to play, whether it's just for myself, if I'm just playing by myself in the store, or I'm playing a concert for 200 people on Zoom, or I'm playing for a class of 126 people and whatever, I don't like to really use a lot of saved presets. Now, there are occasions that come up when, maybe I have a very specific arrangement of something that I want to go in and save A1, A2, A3, very specific sounds. But most of the time, I just like to sit down, and it doesn't matter to me if, like, I was just playing on an Inspire here, but it wouldn't matter if I was playing on a Prestige, Prestige Plus, an Easy 10, an SD Freedom 3. I mean, I'm just looking around the store here, a Journey. Doesn't matter to me, the instrument. You sit down and you play. And this is something that you can do no matter what instrument you have if you just want to sit down and play, but you want to make it more of kind of an arrangement than just sitting down and playing the song with one sound. So hopefully everybody will get a lot out of this. And so what I called this was make any AABA song sound professional. So first we have to say, well, what is AABA? And so I wrote on my sheet, kind of tongue-in-cheek here, AABA has nothing to do with the Swedish pop group ABBA. Okay, so we're not doing Dancing Queen here today. But rather, AABA divides any song into different sections. Okay, and not every single song is going to follow this formula, but many, 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 many songs do. And so you'll be able to apply it to hopefully almost any song that you would sit down and play. I listed some examples here. Georgia on My Mind, of course, I played for you. Your Cheating Heart, Satin Doll, I Got Rhythm, Over the Rainbow. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And after I talk about it a little bit, I think you'll probably be thinking of a bunch of songs that you already know that follow the same formula. Okay? And so in this case, the AABA applies to the different sections of the song. It doesn't mean it's an A chord or a B chord or anything like that. You could think of it as like 1-1-2-1 or XXYX or whatever. It's just the term that we use for different parts of any given song. So since I already played Georgia for you, let me show you an example with I Got Rhythm. Okay, I think everybody probably knows the song I Got Rhythm. That's a real famous one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put on a, let's put on maybe a trombone sound here. Okay, and I'm going to play I Got Rhythm, but I'm going to point out the different sections of the song for you. Okay, so let me put my other camera on here. Now, what you're going to hear are, remember, it's called AABA. So there's 4 parts of the song. Okay, and again, this doesn't apply to 100% of songs, but many, many, many songs. So I Got Rhythm, there's an A section. That's the first A. Then that same section repeats the same notes and the same chords. And then the B section, or some people call that the bridge, would be the middle part of the song. That changes. That's different than the A section. But then at the end, there's one more A section that repeats the same part from the beginning. So let's use this example with I Got Rhythm. So check this out. Okay, that's the A section of the song. Now that part repeats. Now comes the change. Here's the B section. So now the song is different. Now we go back to the first part. Same A section repeats. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Linda says increase the volume. Maybe I need to be a little bit louder here. And just to do another example here, let's go over to, what else did I list there? You're Cheating Hard or Hey Good Looking, all those songs work. We'll go into our country sounds, maybe select a little country guitar here. And we'll do a little bit of Hey Good Looking. This is another AABA song. Make sure I'm loud enough here. All right, there's your A section. Now that repeats. Now here's the B section. Now it changes. And now we repeat the first part again. Here's the last A. So hopefully everybody can kind of see where I'm going with this. Now this AABA form applies to so many songs, but the easiest way that you can tell if you're looking at a piece of music, for one thing, usually the piece of music that you'd be looking at with this formula would be a 32 measure song, right? So because it's divided into those 8 measures, you know, the first 8 being the A section, the second 8 being a repeat of that A section, the middle part or the middle 8 being the B section, another 8, and then the last 8 would be the final A section. Okay, so Sean showed you on the screen there. And this works, again, for tons and tons and tons of songs. I mean, it doesn't matter the genre, although it did become very popular with kind of the Broadway music and show tunes of the mid-20th century. A lot of popular music follows the same kind of thing. And even if you run into something that, you know, maybe it doesn't follow the exact AABA form, maybe it follows what you might know as verse, chorus, or something like that. The important thing is that you can tell the different sections of the song. Okay, and again, that could be anything. When you're listening, if you play a part and then it repeats, you'll know that that's the same section as what you just played. Right? Whether it's just a repeat sign on the page or if you can just tell it's the same notes and the same chords. Okay? So what I put here, and Sean, maybe you can pull this up. This is my what I call the AABA Pro formula. So this can apply to any song, but specifically these AABA songs. And you know, again, if you are looking at a song and you're not sure, does it fit the mold for this formula, and you can't tell, schedule a help session with one of your local staff members. You know, we'll be able to tell you in 2 seconds. We'll just look at the song and say, oh yeah, that'll follow. But Sean, if you can pop that up on the bottom of the screen, yeah. So this is kind of the formula that I would use. Now this is a great way to arrange on the fly for any AABA song. Okay. So what I did is I listed there the A section being measures 1 through 8. You'd play with 1 melody sound. Now, does that mean you have to be on sound number 1? No. That just means you play with whatever melody sound you pick. It could be number 8, it could be number 9, whatever. The second 8 measures, the measures 9 through 16, you would play with that same melody sound, right? You don't change anything. The B section, or the part that changes in the song, that's when you would switch to a different melody sound. Now, you could just go from the upper keyboard to the lower keyboard. That's what I did on Georgia at the beginning here. And then the last A section, you go back to your melody sound number 1. So if that seems like a lot to digest so far, just keep in mind, all I did is I actually used song setup and just set up Georgia on my mind, right? I touched song setup and I used the upper keyboard for the first half, right? I went to the lower keyboard for the middle 8 for the B section, and then I went back to the upper keyboard. So there's not a whole lot of work involved so far. All right, so that's your first time through the song. All right, and I'll come back to this again. But if you want to play it through 2 times, if you want to make it a real cool arrangement, then you go on, you play it through a second time. And I said the second time through, you play measures 1 through 8 with a third melody sound. So this would involve pushing some buttons. Maybe you touch, you know, if you were on, let's say, style setup 0, maybe you go to style setup number 5 or whatever. You know, you pick the sounds. Another option you have is potentially turning drum variation on, or it could be alter style or something like that. And I also listed optional fake it. If anybody has ever been to a live concert or heard on recordings where what they'll do is they'll play through the melody of a song, and then, especially, this is popular especially in jazz music and that kind of stuff, the second time through, one of the horn players or the piano player or the guitar player would stand up and take what they call a solo, right? Like an improvised solo. Well, that's what your fake it button is designed to do. So if you ever hear people kind of noodling around and they're playing all this cool stuff, you can do that with your Fake It button, and then any keys that you hit will sound right. Okay, and I'll come back to that. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But so for the first 8 measures and then the next 8 measures, that's kind of an optional Fake It section. Okay. When you get to the B section again, the second time, measures 17 through 24, right, that would be another time to come back in with the melody. So, you know, I put melody sound number 4 if you want to change to a new melody sound. Drum variation would be turned off probably, and then Fake It would be turned off, of course. And then for the very last 8 measures, you would switch to a new melody sound, possibly hit transpose, and maybe alter style. I just listed that as an option. Okay. Now, I know this probably sounds like a lot of stuff. So what I wanted to do is kind of go back through and show you kind of a practical example. I was going to use Georgia again, but maybe I'll use, let's see, do I have, I was going to see if I have Satin Lady on this instrument. Do you happen to know, Sean, is Satin Lady on the Inspire?
Oh, you would quiz me here. I believe it is. I'm 90% sure it is. You know, when you had that mask wrapped around your chin, at first I thought you had just an Abraham Lincoln beard.
I know.
I couldn't quite
It's
tell.
getting long. Well, we actually had a student in here earlier who was sitting in on our Conductor Magic class, so I had my mask ready to go at a moment's notice. But yeah, I guess I could be also doing my Abe Lincoln impression too. So I'm going to go to Style List, and sure enough, Satin Lady is on there. So I'm going to do Satin Doll just as an example, but remember, there's so many sounds, or not sounds, but songs that you can use this formula with. It could be almost anything. And it would also work for songs, I think I mentioned, that aren't even AABA songs. This is just one example of kind of how to interpret the different sections and then apply some different stuff to those sections. So let me show you what I did here. I just went to my keypad, and I went to S, Style List, and then Satin Lady. So if you don't happen to have Satin Lady, let's say, well, I'm on an easy one, I don't have Satin Lady, go to Standards, Full Band. Or if you don't have standards on your instrument, if you have Big Band, use Big Band instead. Okay, so this is something that everybody can do no matter what instrument you have. Either use Big Band, standards, or in this case I'm using Satin Lady. And that's all I've touched so far. Nothing else, right? So just that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through, Sean, if you can pop up that screen again, I'm just going to play through the first time through the song. I'm not going to touch any other buttons, right? I just set up Satin Lady. That's it. So I'm going to play through the first 2 A sections using one melody sound. I'm going to use the piano on the lower keyboard. For the B section, or the bridge, the middle part of the song, I'm going to go up to the upper keyboard. And then for the last 8, the A section, I'm going to go back to the lower keyboard. So I've just set up Satin Lady. Could be Big Band on your instrument, or could be standards, full band. Okay? And here's the first time through. Here's what this is going to sound like. That's the first A section. Now we repeat. B section. Last A section. So that was our first time through. Lee said, is anyone around a dancer? I am. It's just me, but I just have to dance on the bench, I guess. I don't know. When Joni was teaching her class yesterday, Jason and I were dancing in the background. We were having a good time. So anyway, is everyone with me so far? Does anybody have any questions up to that point? That was just the first time through that song. So that was my 2A sections I did on the lower keyboard with the piano sound. I did the B section on the saxophone section that was on the upper keyboard, and then went back to the piano for the last 8 there. So does anybody have any questions up to that point? How I set it up or anything that I've mentioned so far? Going through my gallery view here, Sean. I don't see anybody. Alrighty, so here's where we have potential to have some more questions. So the second time through, right, that's just the melody part. That's kind of the easy part. The second time through, now we're going to start to make some changes. Okay, so let me put back my other camera here. There we go. So I've already used what I would call melody sound number 1 and melody sound number 2, right? I used the piano and I used the saxophone. All right, so I've already used those. And just for reference, Sean has actually sent out that PDF document of what I'm talking about here. So you have the same sheet if you'd like to click on that in the chat.
If you're on an iPad or a phone, you might not be able to get it, but Robert will still send it out in the email, so you'll still have it.
Yeah.
But for those of you who it'll work for,
Yep.
it is sent, so you can download that if you
Yeah,
want.
if you'd like it right now, feel free to click on that in the chat.
I'll keep putting it up periodically, though, so you'll see it again.
So now I have to figure out, well, okay, so now I've just played through. I used, like I said, the piano sound on the lower, saxophones on the upper. Now I'm going to switch to something else. Maybe I go to, oh gosh, you guys know I'm partial to the jazz organ, so I'm going to go to setup number 3. But remember, this could be any sound, you know, it could be whatever you pick as far as what you'd like to play. But I'm going to touch number 3 here. That's going to give me jazz organ. And then a block harmony on the lower keyboard with, I believe that's what they call the PVG, which is piano, vibes, and guitar. Really cool sound with block harmony. So what I said is that the second time through, so now we've already picked out melody sound number 3. Maybe I want to turn my drum variation on, and maybe I want to do fake it. So I'm just going to do one. I'm not going to turn my drum variation on. I'm just going to turn on fake it. Okay. So let's pretend I've just finished up that first time playing through. Okay, sounds like this. So that's the end of my first time through. Now I'm going to switch, in this case to number 3, or whatever, you know, whatever sound you might want to do. I'm going to touch fake it. Now on the Inspire, it's right here, you can see, but on your instrument, it might be in a different spot. Okay, touch fake it. Now I can improvise. I can play any notes I want. I'm going to use the same chords, though. Sorry, hopefully that's not too loud for you. I'm going to use the same chords from the song. Okay, so I'm going to pretend like I'm playing Satin Doll, right? But I'm going to do my fake it, meaning that I can play any notes that I want to. Okay, so we'll start again, just kind of the end of that first time through. We'll go into the fake it section. That was fun, huh? Jason was looking at me through the glass wondering, how did I learn how to play so fast? But the instrument was doing the work. So in case you don't know what fake it does, just as a reminder, what that does is it improvises the notes so that I'm playing, right? I'm controlling the timing of the notes, but the instrument is actually selecting what notes I play. So instead of just going like this, playing two notes like that. When I have Fake It on, it goes like this. Plays all sorts of different notes for me. And of course, as I change the chords, the notes change, in the correct chord. So again, that's a pretty common thing. If you're familiar with big band music or anything like show tunes like that, they'll often go through the first time through the song, and then the second time, those first two A sections, the first half of the song, will be somebody improvising over the chord changes. And again, that could be a saxophone player, it could be the trombone player, it could be the piano player. In this case, it's you, right? And that's the fun part. So if you don't know what notes to play, that's going to be most people, right? I don't know what notes to play. I don't know how to improvise. I mean, even me, when I went to college, I had no idea what jazz was or what improvisation was, and I learned some lessons pretty fast through my instructors and my peers. But without having to learn all that stuff, you can just touch your Fake It button, and it'll automatically play the right notes for you based on whatever chord you're playing. So you use that Fake It, and then you can play anything. And if you happen to have an instrument like the Inspire or something like that, you can actually hold down one black key, and it'll do all the stuff for you. So check this out. So there I was just holding down the one black key with Fake It turned on, and it does the Fake It for me. So I don't even have to press the notes. I can just hold one down. If you happen to have I believe it started on the Marquis and above, maybe the Rialto and above, if you touch two black keys together, you then don't even have to hold down. You can just touch the two, and then it'll continue for you with the Fake It feature turned on. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the Fake It? Does anybody use Fake It? Can you give me a little wave if you ever used your Fake It button? See about half the people. Oh yeah, a lot of people use Fake It. Now, if you're feeling particularly bold, you can try your improvisation without the Fake It button. Okay, so if you're a more advanced student or you're just braver than most of us, then you can feel free to kind of do that noodling around without the Fake It button. Okay. That is considerably harder, and it's not something that we necessarily are going to teach in this class or at Fletcher Music probably, but that's something that if you ever think, well, I could probably just fool around and play some notes and not turn the Fake It button on. If you've ever felt like that, give it a try, because you might very well be able to noodle around a little bit. And an easy guide is that if you're in the key of C, which is and it's C like Charlie, most of our songs in Easy Play are written in the key of C. All of the white keys are fair game. So you could just kind of, you might surprise yourself. You never know. But the safe bet is going with Fake It. And, of course, Fake It will play all sorts of cool notes for you. I like to do that two-finger method, where kind of like if you make a peace sign and you put them on two notes next to each other and just kind of go back and forth. Because it follows the chord. There's no wrong notes there, so that's kind of fun. All right. But when you get back to the B section, the second time through, so remember we played the first time through a song, and we were doing Satin Doll in this case. We played the first time through was just the regular melody, using the lower and the upper keyboard. The second time through, I turned Fake It on and did the Fake It for the first two A sections of the song, right? The first half of the song. Here's what I always seem to forget to do, and my Sun City Center students will probably attest to this and probably laugh, and it's okay. When I get back to the B section, I always forget to turn Fake It off. I've used the Fake It feature. You have to remember to turn Fake It off when you go back to play the melody, or else you come back expecting to play the melody of Satin Doll, and then you call the store and you say, my organ's broken. And we say, is it? No, you didn't turn the Fake It button off. Okay, so I put right in there, fake it off. You know, potentially if you turned on drum variation, that would be a good spot to turn off drum variation. So you play the middle 8 measures, that B section of the song, with fake it turned off, and you're playing the melody again. And then before you go into the last 8 measures, it's a great time to use your transpose feature. Okay, I indicated possibly doing another melody sound, so maybe switch to one of the higher numbers on your presets. Remember, like 9 and 10, or 7 and 8, or 4 and 5, depending on what instrument you have. The higher numbers generally give you a bigger sound. So if I go to number 10 here, it gives me the brass section. So that'll be a nice finishing sound, and you transpose up just before that last section, and it really makes for a great arrangement. Potentially also turn ultra style on, depending on what style you're using. Okay, so let's say I've just done my fake it section, and I've come out of the fake it, and I'm going to be using that block organ sound I talked about, or the block PVG. Okay, so I'm in the middle 8 section, that middle eight measures, the B section of Satin Doll. And then as I go into the last 8, you're going to see me switch to preset number 10, and I'm going to transpose up a half step. So you'll hear that big musical lift for the finish. So check this out. Isn't that a cool piano part there at the end? I love that. So does anybody know what I did there just before I touched the ending? What was that called? Does anybody know what I just did there? There's a specific ending that a lot of, especially a lot of jazz musicians will utilize that I did there, where you repeat a certain amount of measures at the end. Does anybody know what that's called?
A run?
It's a good guess. It's not a run, but
Is it a tag?
Arpeggio?
somebody said it, I heard.
A tag?
Yeah, I couldn't hear who that was, but yeah, whoever said tag, you get the gold star. Tag, just like the tag on your shirt. Looks like that might have been Jerry. He was waving. So whenever you repeat the ending, right, or the last couple measures of the song, sometimes it's 2 measures, sometimes it's 4 measures. When you repeat that, that's called a tag ending. And that's very common with some of these AABA songs. And then you can elect to use the ending as I did there, or that sometimes can substitute for using the ending, just doing the
Show
tag
that
ending
again.
yourself. Sure. Let me put my camera back there. So the tag ending is usually the last couple measures, 2 measures or 4 measures of the song. So when you get to the end, it would sound like this. But instead of just ending it once like that, we're going to tag those last couple measures a couple times.
Thank you. Reading measures. Last 2 measures.
All right. So do we have any questions from anybody? Boy, everybody's quiet today, Sean. Did you put tranquilizers
I don't see
in their
I don't see
coffee or
anybody
what?
flailing. I see Pat. Are you trying to raise your hand there, Pat? Yes, okay. There you are. It should ask you to unmute on your screen there. Hopefully. There you go.
I was wondering if can you use that in a non-jazz song too? That ending.
Oh, yeah.
What was the question, Sean? I couldn't hear that.
She asked
Sorry.
if you can use that in a non-jazz song as well.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, let's say we were doing a country song, right? We're doing Hey Good Looking, or I forget what I was playing earlier, but let's say I was doing Hey Good Looking, put on a country style here.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So you can really utilize that almost any style of music.
Thank you.
Good question, though. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do this this class today, is because really the even though I call it the AABA formula, really all of this stuff applies to almost any song you could ever want to play. It makes it easier when it's AABA, just because, or at least it seems easier to me, because it's such a structured song. You know, it's basically a formula that people used to write songs by. I mean, they used to, okay, I'm going to write an AABA song. It's going to be a 32 bar whatever, and we're going to use the same chords from I Got Rhythm, and here we go. And they'd write a song. Because as you may or may not know, you can't copyright chord changes. You can copyright melody, and you can copyright lyrics, but chord changes you cannot copyright. So there are many songs in the jazz realm, especially, that use what they call rhythm changes. They took the same chords from I Got Rhythm and wrote different melodies for it. But there are all these songs, and it doesn't have to be those chords. You know, Over the Rainbow, I listed, Georgia, Your Cheating Heart, Satin Doll, I Got Rhythm. I mean, really, if you look up songs that use AABA, there are thousands and thousands of songs. I mean, once
Pretty
you
much,
start,
pretty much
yeah.
every Beatles song from their early years was the exact same format, AABA.
Yep.
Until
And
they
once
started
you start
taking acid and
hearing it,
got weird, but yeah.
yeah, once you start hearing it, you won't be able to unhear it, which is a good thing, because what you'll do is you'll start to recognize, oh my God, that's that same formula, because it's like there's a part of the song that they start with, but then it repeats, right? The lyrics are different, but the chords and the melody are the same. You're like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar, because they just played that the first 8 measures, but then it changes, and then it goes back to the same part as the first one. You think, oh yeah, that's an AABA song, and so you'll be able to recognize this yourself and apply this kind of stuff to almost any song that you hear. Does anybody else have any questions? But I'm going to turn it over to Sean for some announcements here in a second. But does anybody else have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Alrighty. Well, Sean, I will turn it over to you for a minute for announcements, and then I'll finish off with a finale tune today.
Perfect. I have very important announcements. I'll start with on Friday. What is it? Days from now, on Friday, 11 o'clock Arizona, 2 p.m. Florida. As always, we do our Zoom musical concert event. We really want you to make it to this. This was going to be so good. We've got a really special guest playing. His name is Carey Price. The name might sound familiar to some of you, but if it doesn't, you better be there. It's going to be great. He'll knock your socks off. And if you have seen him before, you know to take your socks off before the event, because they're going to come off anyway, right? So it's going to be great. Don't miss it. That is on
I
Friday.
never wear socks when I know Carrie's going to be playing.
Exactly, because you know they're just going to blow right off, right? So otherwise, also keep in mind, this is really important. Today is the very last day of our inventory reduction sale. You might have gotten emails on that. Please keep that in mind. If you have any interest in anything trading up, now is a phenomenal time to do it. We're trying to reduce a lot of our inventory. Like we said, we bought out some instruments from another dealer, so we need to get those sold right away. So if you have any interest whatsoever, contact a personal assistant. You don't have to buy anything, but it's good to know what we're doing, just because we don't want you to miss out on something. So that ends today. So talk to your personal assistant. If you have any questions, let us know, and we'll give you the rundown. So back to you, Brian, in our headquarters there, and we'll do a finale song.
Alrighty.
See you
Looks like
next
we
time.
might have one question from Judith. Did you have a
I
question?
tried to tune in from my iPad and I couldn't get any sound. Any advice?
Well, it could be the volume on the iPad. It depends on if you
turned it-
have it synced up with anything,
It's
like
all
if you have
the
an
way up.
external speaker with Bluetooth or something like that.
Yeah, I'm finding the iPad speakers are super quiet. We have a guy in our office here, Bart, who's saying the same thing. His is very quiet. Can you turn it up? But I think the iPad volumes just don't go up that loud. So what I recommend is if you have an iPad or iPhone or an anything, plug in some headphones. For one, it just sounds way better, and plus you can get a lot more volume with it. So if you have
I tried that.
headphones or earbuds,
I tried
try
that.
them out.
I tried that. No
Okay.
help.
Well, I can't think of anything else besides just turning it up. We could try to turn the volume up on our
Tune
end.
in by audio.
What?
You have to tune in to audio. You have to push an audio button.
Okay.
Yeah. On
Yeah,
Zoom
well,
when you log in.
if you don't tune in with the audio, you won't be able to hear anything. So if you
Okay.
don't, I think when you
I
first sign
couldn't.
on to Zoom, it should say
Alright.
join with computer audio. If you don't do
Yeah.
that, you won't be able to hear
Right.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
not
couldn't.
just low volume, but no volume.
Right. Okay.
Amy, did you have a question too?
Yes, it's about the AABA again.
Sure.
Okay, when you said on B section, melody sound number 3, and then again on the last section, melody sound number 4, are you pertaining about the instruments?
No.
So I'm talking about whatever sound you're playing with the right hand. So it's basically, I listed it melody sound number 1, number 2, just to distinguish between different sounds that you might use. Not that you'd necessarily touch number 5 or number 4 or number 1, but just like you might start off with guitar and then you go to saxophone. And then
Okay, that's
sound
okay.
number 3
So,
might be organ and sound number 4 might be strings.
okay, so that's the sound of the instrument. I mean,
Just whatever
yeah.
just whatever you're playing.
Yeah, just not
okay.
the preset number.
okay, I
Yep,
got
yeah,
it.
not
Thank
not
you.
not the specific preset number, but just some kind of new sound.
Okay, I got
And
it.
remember,
Thank
it's
you.
all, I should have prefaced this at the beginning of the class. It's all optional, right? I mean, you might want to play through the song 2 times and only use one sound. You think, man, I love playing "Hey Good Looking" with country guitar, and that's it. I don't want to use harmonica or honky tonk piano. And if that's the case, then that's great. But this is just
Yeah.
kind of one of those formulas that tends to work pretty well. It's kind of like one of those one size fits all, as much as there might be something like that to apply to many, if not most, songs, if you're looking for something like that to arrange.
Okay, that sounds good though. Thank you.
All righty, you're very welcome. Looks like Cindy has a question also. Cindy? Feel free to hit unmute there. Make sure we can hear you.
Oh, it looks like she just doesn't have the audio working.
Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Cindy, if you can type in the chat, if you can find the chat feature, feel free to type something in there if you have a question for us, or somehow activate the audio. I know it can be pretty confusing depending on what device you're on, but all right. Well, you can keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, I'm going to finish up a finale song today with maybe one of my favorite songs of all time. I was debating between a couple. Maybe I'll do one today and one tomorrow. One of my all-time favorite songs to play is "Over the Rainbow." It's one of my all-time favorites. It's one of those songs I never get sick of playing, and hopefully you don't get sick of hearing it, because I know a lot of people play this song. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to follow exactly the formula that I showed you on my sheet, right? Because I showed you 2 times playing through the song and doing fake it and that kind of stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start off with an intro that is not AABA. It's you could call it the intro, you could call it a C section or whatever. But there's an intro that a lot of times people don't play that I really enjoy including in because it is part of the original music. So I'll be playing that, and then once I get into the main part of the song, you'll of course recognize the melody, and so that'll be AABA the first time through, And then what I'm going to do is the second time, instead of doing the fake it part, I'm just going to skip back to the B section. So I'm going to go to the middle of the song where it goes. All right, I'm going to skip back to that part of the song. So really it's going to be like the intro, and then it'll be A, B, A, B, A. All right, if that makes sense. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. This is Over the Rainbow, and I'm going to be using the style called soliloquy. And I usually play it, I think, about 72 or something like that. So here's Over the Rainbow with soliloquy.
Wonderful job.
All right.
Good
Guys.
Oh,
Very
great.
nice, Brian.
Love that song.
Appreciate that. That's one of my
Bravo,
favorites.
bravo.
Great job.
Bravo.
So that was on Soliloquy, and that was just using those built-in sounds. You know, that's
That's
you
why.
can really get a lot of mileage out of using those stuff, all the stuff that's programmed in for you there. So, been a pleasure, and I will be teaching the same class on here tomorrow. So if you know anybody who's on the Thursday class, we'll see you then. And of course, like Sean said, make sure you tune in for Carrie on Friday. Carrie's one of my favorite people. I mentioned in the in my class earlier today that Carrie is one of the most fun people to watch play the organ. It's hard to find somebody who seems to enjoy playing the instrument as much as he does. So make sure you tune in on Friday, and we'll see everybody soon. Take care.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you, Brian.
Again.
Bye-bye.
Great class.
Thank you.
Take care and inquire about our sale we're having too. So take care, you guys.
Bye.